Hi everyone, hi Abs, hi Paula, hi Shirley, hi Karen, welcome. Hope you can hear me and see me, usual tests. Hi Anne, hi Liliana, hi Hazel, hi Linda, hi Kath, welcome everybody. Hi Carmen, hope the exams went well Carmen. Can everybody hear me okay? Hi Angela, hi. So I'm presuming everybody can see everything and you can hear everything okay. I'll just wait a few moments just for a couple of people to arrive. Hi Corrie. Thanks Carmen. Hope you're all relaxed after the exams. Thanks Shirley, much appreciated, thank you. Hi Chrissy. Welcome everybody, thanks for joining me. I'm just going to wait a couple of seconds just for a few more to join and then I can carry on. Loud and clear, thanks Kath. I try to remember not to shout too loudly because they can hear me downstairs in the house. I tend to shout thinking that you can't hear me. Hi Becky, welcome. Thanks for joining me everybody. Hi Julie. Hope you're well Julie. Hope everybody's well and enjoying all this rainy weather, which is just wonderful. Hi Janet, welcome. Yes, the weather's just wonderful. I seem to spend all my life in my craft room at the moment and not in the garden. But hey ho, there's worse things. So the idea of this Facebook Live is I've had a few requests from a couple of ladies, well a few ladies, asking if I'll create some random backgrounds that aren't too difficult. Also for beginners. Hi Robin, welcome, welcome. Hi Anne. So the idea is to create a background that isn't too complicated, that you still get depth and layered elements to them. So that's my idea behind this Facebook Live, following a couple of requests. I do like to follow up on requests if I do get them. So this is following on from those. Also, I did announce the winner on my last Facebook Live for AALL&Create. That was Diane Carville. I know Diane's responded. Hi Diane, welcome. And we have another giveaway for this Facebook Live. Again, you can pick the stamp set of your choice from my range, and again we'll draw a random winner, and that random winner will probably be drawn again this time next week, and I will announce it on the live again so that you know. I'll announce my winner on my Facebook Live later this evening that was on my wall, just so that you know that we give you some updates on that. Oh, thanks very much Becky. So I always get nervous because you never know how these Facebook Lives are going to turn out, but we just have to go for it. Hi Karen. It's something you struggle with as well. That's great. Well, we're going to create this card for this Facebook Live. I'm glad you won it, Diane. I can't wait to see what you create. So we're going to create this card, and the idea with this is to show you how to use as little paint as possible and to still get depth to your design and not having to use too much paint, not having to have techniques galore. It's simplicity. So that's what we're going to go for. Now this one I have done with my 5x7 gel press, and there's very clever techniques that you can do with the gel press. There's nothing clever about what I'm going to show you. It's just simple, effective, and that's it. This one, the turquoise one, I did that with a brayer, but it's to show you two different ideas with the stamp set, but to show you that you can still get the same depth of colour whether you're using loads of colours or you're using two colours. On this turquoise one, I just used turquoise and black, and then with the only colour, obviously apart from white, which I used on the top, but in my background I just used turquoise and black. But it's to show that whether you use the brayer as it is or you use the gel press, you can still get really detailed, defined backgrounds that give oomph, and also are interesting backgrounds and don't look like mud, because I know a lot of ladies say that they get mud. But a couple of ladies say that they struggle with the brayer direct to card. So I thought I'll show you the easiest technique possible with the gel press. So we'll move on to that. Just move that card out the way. We're going to use my stamp set Eclectic Stems, a stamp set 199. And if you'd like to share the post, that would be much appreciated. Again, we'll draw a random winner this time next week, and you can pick any one of my stamp sets that you'd like to win. I'd also like to say thank you to those ladies that have already purchased. Thank you very much. It's much appreciated. So this is the card we're going to create, and no two cards are going to look exactly the same. Hi Joe, welcome. Hi Tara Lisa. Hi Zoe. Welcome everybody. Thanks for joining me. Oh, thank you very much. So no two backgrounds are going to look the same, but that's the good thing. Hi Diane. What you need to remember is that if your background goes wrong, it's not a mistake. You can die cut out of that. You can stamp onto it and cut your flower out of that. It doesn't matter if the background isn't what you quite expected. Don't throw it in the bin, cut it up, and it'll look totally different. Okay, so I'm using my 5x7 gel press, which is going to be a great picture on here, just a clear gel press. Let's get a picture. So it's this one, the 5x7. And being genuinely honest, this is the only one that I've got, is the 5x7 one. Hi Patricia, welcome. Hi Dawn, thanks for joining me Dawn, lovely to see you. So this is the only gel press I've got, so I make do with this. Thanks for purchasing, Becky, I really appreciate it. And I hope you'll have a go as well, Becky. So there are lots of clever ideas with this. There are lots of clever people who use the gel press in fantastically clever ways. I'm doing nothing clever, I'm doing something simple. Okay, so I've got my brayer, and fresco finish paints work well, and I'm using, but this time I'm using the Dina Wakley ones. And the idea here is that I'm using little amounts of paint and often. So that's the whole point behind this. Sorry about my arm, I'm just trying to grab scraps of paper because I've left my desk a right mess and not tidied up after myself, I'm afraid. So I'm just going to add a small, as you can see, that's not much paint at all. We'll also get a spare piece of card that we can brayer off onto, because you can also use this for your stamping. And we'll use a little bit of orange. This first layer doesn't really matter too much, but what I'm trying to show you is that you can use a small amount of paint. You don't have to use lots. So just brayer your paint over the gel press. Now I've still got lots of paint on here and I don't want to add that back to the gel press, so I'm now going to brayer that off on my scrap of card, which I'll bring in. You can see how much paint is still left on the brayer. So I'll now brayer over the gel press once again to remove some more of the paint and brayer the excess onto my scrap card, which I will use for stamping. I'm then going to place my 4.5 by 6.5 inch piece of card onto the brayer. Now this is not going to look anything interesting. What you're aiming for is lots of layers to give you depth to your design. So we're just going to remove that. And as you can see, you get a nice flat, what I call a flat layer of colour. Hi Lane, welcome. I call this a flat layer. And this is where, don't worry about this that was already on the gel press. I'm not concerned about that at all. I call this a flat layer, and a layer that needs a lot more work. I've finally made one of your lives. Hi Lane, welcome. Thanks for joining me. We have a giveaway on this Facebook Live. If you'd like to win one of my stamp sets, if you just name the stamp set that you'd like to win, we'll draw a random winner next week like we did last week. And if you'd like to share, that would be much appreciated. Thank you. So this is a flat layer, and for me, yes, you could stamp on that, but it doesn't do anything. It's got no oomph. It's got no dimension to it. So what we do is we carry on building the layers. Hi Jeanette, welcome. So what we do is we go back to the same colour initially. We don't add a different colour. So what I do is I add even less paint this time. Less paint than last time. And it doesn't matter if you add too much paint, just remember you can take it off. And as you can see, I've got a tiny, Hello there, welcome from Hungary. I have no chance of pronouncing your name, which is not very good. Kisalini. Hello from Hungary anyway, thank you for joining me. Hi Zurika, thank you, welcome from the Netherlands. As you can see, there's hardly any paint on there, and I'm braying the excess again onto my spare sheet. And what you're doing this time is you're kissing the brayer. You are not pressing the whole thing down, you are kissing it. Hi Leslie, welcome, hope you're well Leslie. And you're literally kissing. Hi Pam, welcome. You're actually kissing the gel press. And the idea with this is you're getting a mono print, but in a random way. You're not doing an all over print. It gives you more depth in areas and you never know what to expect. You choose if I win something to use at your workshop. Oh bless, okay Dawn, thank you. So the idea is that we're adding little layers. So now I'm going to add a touch of the yellow. From Tennessee, wow, welcome. Thank you for joining me, Stephanie. I'm always amazed by how many people join us from overseas and everywhere. I just think it's wonderful. That's what I love about Facebook Lives, that we can connect with people that we wouldn't otherwise connect with. And again, keep remembering to brayer off on your spare piece of card. So what you do is, you don't drop your pieces of paper on the floor. That is the tiniest amount of paint, and move around your card. Aim for a different area. Now, yellow is a very pale colour. That doesn't matter. You're aiming to build up depth, and you're just kissing your card. So what we want to do now is we want to add another colour, another layer of colour. If you wanted to continue just with those colours, you would keep doing that over and over about 20 times to keep adding that. I've got nice pieces of hair all over my braided piece, but you would keep adding that same colour over and over again. But I want more colours to mine. Now I'm really going to add a tiny amount. I've got some on my hands, so bear with me, which is natural. We are crafting after all. So a blob of paint, as you would expect. So now I'm just going to add a small amount of turquoise. And I just want you to see how small that paint is. Thanks very much, CJ Severson. Sorry, I don't know your first name, but thank you for joining me. So I've got the tiniest amount of paint there, and I'm literally going for a small amount. Brayer your excess off on your card, which will hardly be anything. And again, you are kissing your card. You don't want to add too much. Just literally kiss. Now, I know some of you may think, well, what is the point? Why not just add more paint? You're not going to achieve depth if you obliterate every single layer that you put on there. If you obliterate every layer, you're not going to get the depth. So that's why we're layering one colour on top of the other. So I want a bit more turquoise. And remember that it's always easier to take away. Sorry, you can't take away, but it's easy to add on. Good grief, I can't get my words out. So you can't take it away, but you can always add. So if you think that you want a little bit more, brayer it in odd places and always do randomly. And then we keep adding to our brayered background, which we'll add for stamping. Oh, thanks, Patricia. So then again, we then kiss that card. And the idea is that anybody can do this. Anybody, even if you don't like mixed media backgrounds and you just want to use them for die cutting, anybody can do this because there's nothing complicated, there's nothing clever, it's just a simple technique. And as you can see, I like this here. Hi James, welcome. I love this where it touches the edges. Them kind of things appeal to me. So what you have to look at then, you look at your background and you think, well, I've got quite a bit of turquoise here and I've got quite a bit of turquoise here. So for me, my eye needs another layer on there. So then I go back to the orange to add some more orange to this. So this is a long-winded technique, but it is worth it, trust me. So I'll just go over that again, make sure I've not left any. And then I'm going to go back to the orange. And for those that have just joined us, if you'd like to share the Facebook Live, that'd be much appreciated. We've got a little giveaway again for one of my stamp sets of your choice. So if you just mention which stamp set you'd like to win, we can draw a random winner. So now you can start. Yes, the spare piece of card's being used, Ginny. Well trained. Practice makes perfect, eh? I'm looking forward to seeing you on Sunday, James. So then I'm going to aim for this turquoise area and just kiss the card on the turquoise areas. So as you can see, the orange is overlaying. Because we're using opaque paints, you can layer one colour on top of the other and you will never make mud because you're using opaques. So the opaques layer beautifully. And I'm just now going to dab randomly just to pick up the excess paint. So you can see here and here, I'm now getting more depth to my design. That's adding more depth now. I'm late again. Oh, it doesn't matter, Isabel. You can always catch it on catch up. It doesn't matter about being late. Hi, Lauren. Hi, Rennie. Welcome from the Netherlands. Thanks, everybody, for joining me. So as you can see here, we've now got more depth to the colour. We're now building on those layers. So there's something missing. We need a more powerful colour just to give it some body. So now what I'm going to use is, we're going to use some magenta, but you need to be really careful with this because it really is a powerful colour. So what I'll do on this one is, I'll add a tiny bit to my craft sheet, which I'm hoping you can see, and then I'll add it lightly to my gel press. And as you can see, I'm hardly adding any. I think that will do. And as you can see, I've still got paint here on the side, which I will then use my wipe off background, which will work perfectly for some stamping. And then this time I'll get some on the edges, and again just kissing that card. You don't want to place it all down because we're not doing the same technique that others do. We're doing something simpler, something that everybody can achieve. So we're just layering that on, and you keep dabbing, you know, like it's a monoprint that you're achieving. And as you can see now, that magenta colour gives it what I call some oomph, some powerful body. It sort of lifts the whole design, but we still need it to come together a lot more. So we need to add a lot more detail to this. So what we're now going to do is we're going to go back, I think, to the yellow, just to add some yellow, which is sort of a blending colour, a colour that blends nicely. You don't see it much, but it sort of tones everything when you're working with it. So I'm going to add a touch more yellow, which you won't see much, but it does add to the background. And this is one of those techniques that you would do lots of backgrounds in one sitting, and then you can either die cut out of them, you can stamp onto it, you can create a masterboard. If you've got one of the bigger gel presses, you can do that, but I can create a masterboard even with my 5x7 gel press. I'm literally just tapping now, and I'm hoping the camera can pick up. We've got some depth of yellow here, which there are tiny layers of the yellow on the turquoise, on the orange, on the pink. So we're now building that up. So both pieces of card, I know I agree with you, Ginny, if you use both pieces of card, even just brayering off is fabulous for your stamping. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add an even stronger colour. And now you have to be more careful because this colour is even stronger. So I'm going to add this to my non-stick craft sheet. This colour is fuchsia, and this is a super powerful colour. So I'm brayering it off so that I get a thin layer, and I'm literally skimming my brayer across the background with the lightest touch possible. And then my excess card again will be brayed. And then we're going to be very gentle with this. 2 backgrounds for one, Anne, exactly. So I'm now going to, I want some of my edges to have some definition. Yes, that's working quite nicely. So I'm very lightly touching this because I don't want to end up with a big blob. So I'm lightly touching, very lightly. And this gives more body, again, to my design. So as you can see, I need to be brave. Oh, Gillian, honestly, you can't make a mistake doing this. And it doesn't matter, even if you make a total hash of it and you don't like it, just get a pale colour and brayer over the top. And even if you die cut it, you'll never know any difference. So what I want to do now is I want to just remove my gel press because I've got some depth there. And now I want to go back to the brayer. So I'm going to go back to my, let me just clean my surface a little bit because I don't want that dark colour. So I'm just going to now add a touch of yellow direct to my non-stick craft sheet. And this yellow layer or lemon layer just tones everything down. And you can go over it with the yellow very lightly. And if you continue to brayer over your card continually, you will get texture from your brayer. So I still want a touch more yellow. So I'm going to add more yellow. And I'm going to do this again. This will just blend everything together. I will lift the background up just so you can see. And now I'm going to go to the other colours as well. I must have known you were going to use one. Just bought a gel plate, yay! That's great, Janet. And this is a really easy technique to do. So again, a small amount of paint, nothing overly, and brayer your paint out so that you've got a nice thin layer, and brayer down your card like so. Brayer down, lightly brayer down. Don't add any more paint. Keep brayering the same thing over and over and over, and you will get some texture. Just let me lift that up so you can see the texture. And hopefully you can see that you're getting lighter, darker, and when we stamp and we add the other layers, it will all blend together. And my scrap piece, you could use that as the background, but I'm going to use that for stamping purposes. Even that brayered, that's a lovely background. So I would use that for stamping. I have a gel plate and never use it. Well, if you want to, Rinny, if you want to create simple backgrounds, doing it that way is really easy. There's some clever techniques with the gel press, but if you want to do something really simple and really basic, you can use it that way as well. But what I want to do now is we want to add some touches of white. So what I'm going to do is try and find my stencil in my heap of mess. I'm going to add, I'm just trying to bring everything in camera. I'm going to add my stencil, and I don't want the whole thing. I just want touches. So I'm trying to keep everything in camera for you. Love my gel plate. Yes, that lots of people love the gel plate. So what I'm going to do is I've added a small amount of paint, which you probably can't see because it's up here. But I'm just brayering the white paint onto my brayer, as you can see here. And then I'm going to add that over my stencil. And I may even add a little bit more just so it's a bit whiter. Just bray it over. Now anybody can do this, anybody. So nice. So then we've got that on our gel press. So then I can, and again, I don't want to press down because I'm going for a more random feel. So it's like a dab there. I'm not pressing the edges. And the idea is we're building layers. You're not going to see much yet, but those little layers will all help. I love this stencil, Mary. It's one of my favourite stencils. But can you just see, the aim of this Facebook Live is to educate you to use small amounts of paint, not masses of paint, because you will build your layers up in a more gentle process. For those that are just joining, we've got a little giveaway. If you'd like to share the Facebook Live, that'd be much appreciated. And if you want to mention which stamp set is a favourite and that you'd like to win, we'll draw a randomly drawn winner next week. So again, I'm adding some more paint because I want some more touches of white, because white always lifts your design. If you're finding your designs are a bit dull, add some white and that will lift your design. So again, just a light touch, nothing too over the top. Oh, thanks, Jacqueline. Thanks, Jill. Welcome. Loretta, hi. So as you can see, I've added more paint, so that gives me more depth. But again, you didn't see me add a lot of paint. I added a touch of paint. So as you can see, we've got a nice layer there. The sun is shining in the Netherlands. Oh, I need to go to the Netherlands and move my garden. It's just raining here all the time. Oh, that's no problem, Karen. You just do it whenever you can, no problem. So that gives me, now I want another one of them. I want another one. So I'm going to add some more paint. I keep picking the wrong paint up because I've got that many paint layers. So I'm just moving my gel press a little bit. And then I'm going to add some more paint. And I think I'll keep that there again. And we'll add another layer this time. There. Am I out of camera? I'm good at moving my thing out of camera. Come to silly Suffolk. Sunny here. It's sunny in Suffolk. You see, you're all rubbing it in now because it's sunny everywhere. It's even sunshine in Dumfries. It's not sunny in Crewe. Trust me. Oh, I'm really happy with that. Can you see how it doesn't matter what your colours look like in the background? When you add touches of white, it pops. Everything pops. I love those touches of white. And I need to add another one more. I love the stencil. So we now need to add a little bit more paint. And I just need to remember to keep it in camera because I'm very good at moving my work out of camera. And again, we can brayer a touch of white onto my backdrop. And I think we'll add sunny in Aberdeen. I think you're all just rubbing it in. Yes, it's grim weather in Manchester. That's not far from me, Angela. Exactly, it's grim. So we're now going to add a touch more here. Now I'm happy with that. I'm happy with that. I love that. So we'll now just take that off and we'll use my scrap bit of card and just place it on and just take anything off the gel plate that's on there. That will do for, you see, that's my spare piece. And this is the piece we're working on. And can you see how the depth is coming along? So we'll just move the gel press out the way. And we'll just do a little bit of wiping up because it's getting in a total mess here. I can hardly move. So we can still add more depth to this design. We can still add more layers. So I definitely need a bigger desk. And when I demo for James, I'm always asking for a bigger desk. I'm going to get told off one day. Raining in Yorkshire, almost 2 weeks on the trot. Exactly, Loretta, that's what we've had. Hi, Julie. See, wet and grey. See, I don't feel alone now. So that's our background, and it doesn't matter what we've layered in the background because we're building it up and we're making it look more and more pleasing to the eye. How can you choose which piece of card to use? I use them both. I always use them both, Jenny. I never bin them. And if it's too nice a background, I always make that as my main focal thing for the card. So now what I need to do now, we've added the white here, which gives me lots of definition, but I need to add some of these powerful colours in the foreground, just so that it looks like I've thought about it. Hi, Leontines. Hi, Kathy. Hi, Lisa. Welcome. Thanks for joining me. Hi, Samantha. So now I'm going for the more powerful colours. So I'm just going to get rid of the white off my stencil because I don't want it to tone the colour down that I'm using next. So let's just wipe that. Just wipe my stencil. Right, so now I want to use some of this magenta. Hope everybody's well. You like the left one, do you, Isabel? You see, that's more toned down, you see. That's a more toned down background, but that's why you do these, Isabel. You do these backgrounds so that you can play around, decide which one you're going to use, and then you're done. You know, you could use that and add the flower. I can show you both one, but I'm going to use that background for my flowers maybe, or I may make it into a card. So now I'm going to add some touches. As you can see from the original card had some stronger colours in the background from the same stencil. So we're going to do that as well. So now we're going to add a touch of the colour. And don't forget, this is just a play around. This is to give you an idea so that maybe you will use your stamps and go away and do which kind of background you prefer. So I'm now going to pick the colour up on my finger and apply the colour directly to the stencil. And I like doing this, and I'll show you why afterwards. So I like when the paint from my finger congeals around the edge of the stencil, and that makes it nice. Had to run out and get washing in. Rain started. Whoops, Dawn. Hi, Leslie. So I'm now going to add a touch more pink, and I never put too much paint out because I can't put it back in my pot. So I always add a small amount of paint, which you'll probably get bored of hearing me say. So I'm now going to add a few more here. And just adding a tiny amount of paint to my finger. And this is what the Facebook Live's all about, to show that we don't need lots of paint. We just need a small amount, and we can work slow and steady. So as you can see, that now brings this colour into the foreground, just so that you can see that it looks like I've thought about what I'm doing. It brings those two colours. So I think I'm quite happy with that. I think we can do some stamping now. We just need to give that a dry, because this white really lifts everything. I think actually I've changed my mind. I'm going to have to add it in threes, because it upsets me if I've got two. So even if I've got a little touch of something that makes it three, I'll have to make it three. So we'll have to do that. We don't want it to be too overpowering. That's perfect. Well, that's perfect for me. How do I know when to stop? I never go too over the top, because I know that I never keep going over and over with the backgrounds too much, because I know that when my stamping goes on there, that's going to be another detail. So when I've added a few layers and I look at it and I think that's got nice depth, then I stop. Like this background, the one where I've just braided off, I'm going to use that for a card in itself. I'm going to leave it and stamp a flower on that one. So I'm going to use that. And that's just me braiding off. So for me, that doesn't need anything more apart from a touch of background stamping. But this one needs some more work. And obviously, you'll have colours that suit you. You know, you might be a person that prefers the turquoises like I did here. With the turquoise one, I didn't use the gel press. I just literally braided the background over and over. I must have braided it at least 12 times just to get the depth in colour. So you may be a person that likes two colours, but you can still do the same technique with two colours. So we're just going to give that a dry. I just need to make sure these paint layers are fully dry, because we're going to stamp on there. I'd have to add some turquoise circles too. Exactly, Dawn. You can do exactly that. You could add some turquoise circles, because this would be your background and not mine. I'll show you what I'd be doing for my turquoise. But I agree with you, Dawn. We can also have turquoise touches, which I will do in the next step, which I think I've got on my original one. And I'm wafting the heat gun again. I'm not keeping it. The sound has gone off, but I'll watch anyway. Oh, can anybody else hear me? I don't know why the sound's gone off. I can still hear myself waffling. Thank you, Rizwana. So I'm just giving it a good dry. Oh, thanks, Jill. So I think we've got a nice dry background. Yes, we have. So what we're going to do now is we're going to add some stamping. And I'm going to begin with stamp set 210, which is the background stamp, because I want to add some... The sound's okay. Oh, good. Good. I'm glad some of you can hear me. It might be a positive thing that you can't hear me. You never know. So 210, we're going to add some stamping. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some turquoise stamping to bring the turquoise elements in from the background. So we use a piece of cut and dry foam, and you use a small amount of paint, and that's the wrong one, that's sky. Don't want that, I want turquoise. This is what happens when you've got every... Oh, thanks, Tracy. When you've got every colour paint known to man on your desk. What you should do is clean up before you do a Facebook Live. So what I'm doing is I'm adding a small amount of paint to my... Oh, thanks, Anne. To my cut and dry foam. And I'm just adding some paint to bring those turquoise elements from my background into the foreground. And we'll just add a few more. And I love adding touches of random stamping, and this stamp is perfect for that. So hopefully I'm not moving it out of shot, which is what I'm really good at. Just add a touch more down here. I will lift it up so you can see the stamping. How do you avoid mud? And it's easy to avoid mud if you use opaque paints. If you use opaque or semi-opaque paints, you will never make mud, because with opaque paints you can layer one colour on top of the other. So here I have laid turquoise on top of black, and they're both opaque paints, but because they're opaque it allows me to layer one colour over the top of the other without creating mud. So that gives you nice fresh, if you use opaques it gives you nice fresh. And if they've got nice body to them, it gives you some oomph as well. So we've bought the magenta colours to the foreground, the turquoise colours from the background to the foreground. We've added white to make everything pop. And we've added some stamping to give further detail in the turquoise. So now what we'll do is just add a touch of the white. Just remember, if you're using acrylic paint, just to clean your acrylic paint off your stamp, because that will affect the detail if you don't clean it off. So now we're going to add some white to the stamp. So we add some white paint. And as you can see, I never use, I could listen to you all night. Oh, Carmen, thank you. That's so kind. You might be bored of my voice after an all-night session, definitely. Unless when you're listening to me drone on. So as you can see, a small amount of paint. I've not used masses of paint in anything. So just adding the white to my magenta circles. It looks like then I've thought about everything I'm doing so that everything coordinates. I think my baby wipes are a bit worse for wear. And these are biodegradable baby wipes, in case anybody wants to say anything. I have got biodegradable ones, or water ones, whatever they're called. I've only just found them. Water ones, apparently. So what we've got now is we've got the background stamp stamped in white, turquoise, and everything coordinates. What make of paints are you using, Tracy? These are Dina Wake, not, yeah, Dina, do you know, I was thinking, what am I using? Dina Wakley heavy body acrylic paints. She now does them in little tubes. She hasn't got them in these big tubes anymore. She does them in these tubes. Dina Wakley acrylic paints, but you could use these or fresco paints. Fresco paints work well as well, and they both give you a nice richness of colour, and they work really well together. So for those that have just joined, if you'd like to mention which stamp set you would like to win, you can win that. We'll draw a random winner next week, and if you'd like to share the video, that would be much appreciated. I won't keep you much longer. So what we're doing now is we're using the large stamp. I have no idea where my stamps have gone. There we go. So we're using this stamp from stamp set 199. I love using this stamp set. It's a really good paint. It's nice and rich, brayers nicely, and I can say the same for fresco paints as well. I use them a lot. They both work really well, give good vibrancy. They've got opaque. So they've got, you know, that opaque capacity, so you can lay one on top of the other, and I love them. Figured it out. Finally, I can hear you again. Yay, Mary. That might not be a good thing, honestly, that you can hear my accent, my twang. So now I'm going to add my stamped flower. To the background, because now we're looking at our focal images. So you then decide where you want to place that. So I think I'm going to go here because I want to keep some of that white detail. So we'll just stamp that there. And I'm using a VersaFine Clair because that's got a nice open time. And now we need to add some dimension to the flower. Now, because I like this background too much, normally I would stamp onto this background and use that to stamp the flower on that background. I would stamp this onto there, but I like it too much. So I'm not going to stamp on that one. I'm just going to quickly make another background. The quickest background you've ever seen in your life. So I'm just going to make another bit of a random background just for my flower. You know, this is going to be the quickest brayering ever. But this is because I like that background too much. But if you were brayering at home, you would use the brayered background we created earlier. But you don't mind humouring me and allowing me to make another background for my flower, do you? So I'm just going to brayer my background really quick. All I'm doing is adding the colours that are in my background. Too lovely to cut up, isn't it, Anne? No, I'm going to use that as a background to a card. I can't cut that up. It's just too nice. But as you can see, you can create a background quick enough. No problem at all. So we then just add a bit of orange. You see, and what you could say is, if I was organised, I'd have had these backgrounds made already. But no. Some Facebook Lives are very off the cuff. Up to yesterday, I had no idea what I was going to demo. And then I remembered some of the requests. I always prefer my spare card. I always love the spare card, but I do love this piece, I must admit. So now a touch of the pink to bring that pink in. Only a tiny touch. I love the vibrancy. I love the fact that you've got one background that's very vibrant and another background that's very subtle. So that will do for the flower. We don't need anything more, else it'll be like watching paint dry for you. So we'll just give that a dry. Oh, thanks, Janet. Thanks, Hazel. I can watch you create all day long. Honestly, trust me, you'd get bored after a while. But so literally now we can stamp our flower onto our background, and it doesn't matter what the background looks like because it's the flower head. All we want is we want the flower head to coordinate with the rest of the card. So that's all we want. So we'll stamp that. There we go. And then we want 2 flower heads. And I haven't cut them out before, sorry. So we cut them. Time just didn't allow. So we've got our 2 flowers. So because we're using an ink pad with a very good open time, we need to give that a dry. And it just means that if you use the same colours on your brayer off piece, the piece where you brayer your excess paint off, if you stamp your flower onto that, it looks like everything's really coordinated then. So I'm just giving that a nice dry. Just use my kitchen roll to make sure the ink is... Because you're stamping onto a painted surface also, you need to make sure that that ink is dry. So I'm just going to cut this flower out so we can talk about the weather or anything. I'm trying to watch and cook at the same time. It's not easy. Trust me, Sylvia, if you saw my cooking, it's a good job I don't do a Facebook Live on cooking skills, because I'm telling you now, I would be a total embarrassment. My husband does most of the cooking. Yes, can you help me cook them? Can you help me cut them, Rizwana? I need you here at in my craft room. There's enough room for just about enough room for 2 of us. Rizwana came to watch me at a demo, and every time I demoed something, Rizwana cut out my flowers for me, bless her. She was really good. But it's a nice easy flower to cut out, so not a problem. It's just that we have to talk about the weather and everything while I'm doing. Just pass them through the screen. There you go, Rizwana, can you reach? It's a good job, it's a nice easy flower to cut out. But when you do Facebook Lives, normally it's best to have the pieces cut out, but then you wouldn't be seeing me craft real time. I like to prepare in some ways, but I like you to see me create real time, so you know that if I make a mistake or we don't like it, I'm a real person, just like you. I'm just a crafter, and that we sort out the mistakes together. So then that's a learning curve as well. So it would have taken less time if I'd have used the original background, but I agree with Isabel. It's a lovely background, and Anne said, so I may as well use that with a card. So you'll probably see that in a card coming near to you soon. I think you cut out quicker than me, Rizwana. Oh, thanks, Anne. So what is everybody up to this week? Have you got anything exciting planned? I'm hoping for a couple of days off, and then I'm demoing for James at Lee on Sunday at the show. So I'll be demoing some of these techniques at the show. So if you're there, pop and say hi. I always get really nervous before I demo. Again, I go to the toilet about 100 times. I'm really good. So now I can see what my flowers look like. Oh, thanks very much, Ali. So what I'm going to do now is I can see them there, and then I decide which one's going to be my focal image. But I've decided I want a touch more pink because that colour is really vibrant. This is what I do exactly when I'm creating at home. I want a touch more pink on my flower. And again, I'm not using masses of paint. I'm just rubbing the brayer over and over and over. That's much better. I prefer that now. So then I'm going to bend my flowers. And if you were making a card for a friend, you would colour the back as well. I'm hoping my hubby gets his appointment for his medical to be a train driver, so he can hand his... Oh, wow, Hazel. That would be quite an achievement, a train driver. That must be brilliant. Thanks, Anne. So now I'm bending the flower to give it some life, just to give that some more movement. And we're going to add this one first. Where's my... Can't find anything. I now need another background, I've just remembered. So we're now going to add this flower to our main flower. I just love this flower. Is it sad to like your own flower that much that I keep using it? Do you think there's something wrong with me? And I keep putting my head in the camera. So I'm just adding that to there. And then when the flower's dry, I will lift the petals even more. Obviously, this is a flower. This is a card that you'd hand to somebody personally, or you'd put it in a box if you were sending it. Me personally, anyway. So I'm just trying to get that how I want it. Not quite there. There we go. I end up faffing so much with the flower. It's unbelievable. But I'm always the same. No, it's because it's a fab flower. I love this flower. So then I'm going to add a little gem, a little bead to the centre. So we'll just add a little bead to the centre. My little stubby fingers. There we go. And then I'm going to have a pot. Let's see if we can create a pot out of this bit of piece of card that we've got. Bigger scissors. So I'm just making a random pot. Glad you did the larger version. So I'm just making a pot. So that now needs some colour on. So this is going to need the tiniest amount of paint ever, because it's only a little pot. And it's just using what you've got really in your craft room. using backgrounds that you've got. A touch of orange. As you can see, you hardly need any paint. And hopefully this live just shows you that you're using small amounts of paint to get the effect that you want. So a touch of turquoise so that everything coordinates. Thanks, Anne. So a touch of turquoise. And again, as you can see, not much paint at all. That will do. Just wipe those up. And then obviously we need a touch of pink just to make that pot coordinate with everything. And if you've got any questions when the Facebook Live's finished, feel free to message me or put a comment on the live. I always get back to everybody. Perfect, that's just what I want. So that's our pot. So now I'm going to go to my background stamp, which I cannot see anywhere. Oh, doing a Facebook Live, trying to find everything. Don't put things on the floor like I do. I'm now frantically trying to find, there it is. You should have a go at a Facebook Live, ladies. You'd love it. You drop everything, everything goes everywhere, you knock your iPad over. Remember, you just couldn't find the end. I know, I can never find the end on my thread. That's standard, that is. Absolutely standard. So, let's have a look what we've got on here. Small, is that small steps? Let me see if I can use that. So I'm just, it says small steps on this stamp here. So I'll see if I can just stamp that. Sorry if my head's getting in the way, because I forget myself sometimes. That's it, it says small steps on the background. Now a touch of stamping to the background of the pot. Again, we've got to remember the pot has to coordinate as well. That's absolutely fine. Just give that a dry. Obviously, because you would have had your braided off background, you could have stamped all, you could have cut your pot out, you could have stamped your sentiment, all of it onto the background that you created before. Now I've got some cut and dry with some black distress oxide, black soot. So we'll just give that some definition. And we can add that to our background. So we just give that. Just add that to our backdrop. And as you can see then, everything coordinates nicely. And it's got small steps on there, I quite like that. So of course we've got to add some white splatters, don't we? Of course we do. Wouldn't be Tracy Evans if she didn't add some white splatters. And everybody, when I'm demoing, always runs away when I do this, because I think they think I'm going to splatter them. I did spray somebody once with my water bottle. That wasn't very good either. So now I'm going to add the sentiment. I'm working in such a small space you would not believe. So I've got this background that's hardly got any colour on it at all, but that's fine. I think we'll add a touch of yellow. My favourite one, Lisa, changes every time I use one. Every time I use a stamp, I change my mind, depending if my sample works out good. If I make a rubbish sample, then I change my mind, and then I go on to another stamp set, and then that's my favourite. Because trust me, plenty goes in the bin. That's a little bit too less. So we're just creating a little bit of a background for my sentiment, which of course you would already have because we created that background at the beginning, but the background was too nice to just cut up. Isabel convinced me that it was too nice to cut up, so we didn't cut it up. So hence we're making backgrounds now for the sentiment. That will be fine. So this will be our sentiment. I've lost the sentiment now. Right, so we now stamp our sentiment. This one says create your own magic. So we'll just stamp that onto our background. Remember, you're stamping onto a painted background. So that could have been a little bit better, but that's fine. What you have to remember is to dry your paint and then stamp. You never make rubbish, I don't believe you. I'll take pictures of my bin, Dawn, although I do save even the rubbish backgrounds, because then I die put hearts out of them, and then you never know. So I do make rubbish, trust me. And it'll happen on a Facebook Live once, honestly, because things go wrong. But that's all part of the fun. We're with like-minded friends and we're creating together, and the idea is that we learn together and we create together. So we don't pull each other down, we help each other and create projects that we enjoy. Well, that's the idea of my Facebook Lives anyway, to encourage people to use the craft products and have a go and have fun, really. So now we've got my sentiment. Create your own magic. So we're going to add that. I'll lift the card up when I've done, and I'll show the originals as well. And if you've got any questions, just let me know. Create your own magic. I think I need a few more white splatters, sorry. This is what I'm like when I'm creating. I talk to myself. See, I use it so not rubbish. Yes, that's a good point, Dawn, yes. Yes. There have been pieces that go in the bin when I can't salvage them, although most do get die cut, I have to say. So that's our card. And I'm hoping that I've achieved what I set out to do today on my Facebook Live. My objective was to show that the gel press can be used in a simple way. My objective was to show you that you can use the tiniest amount of paint. I'll use any paper. I'll use aquarelle paper, Ellie. I use 300 GSM Paper Artsy card. So I'll use anything like that that's got a good thickness to it so that I can batter it with my paints. But I'm hoping I've met my objective. I'm hoping that I've showed you that you can use tiny amounts of paint and still achieve a good background. I've shown you that you can use your gel press in the simplest way possible, and that you can make a background without even thinking about it with the brayer off background. And if you'd like me to create more Facebook Lives, just give me a shout. I just want to say thank you for sharing. And these are all the cards that we've created. Let me see if I can bring them all into the live. See if we can bring that background in. So that's what we've created. And I would do that. I would create several backgrounds like this. Just so, and this background you will see on a card. I'll prove that I'll use that background. Oh, thanks, Roz. I really appreciate it. I do appreciate all your kind comments. So I just want to say that, you know, obviously I'm very nervous when I do the lives. I know some people say it doesn't sound like I am, but I do actually suffer from anxiety. So it takes me a lot to do these Facebook Lives. But I like to be honest with you, and I like to prove that any of you can do this, any of you can have a go, and any of you can achieve this. So if you've got any questions, just give me a shout, and hopefully I'll do another Facebook Live soon for you. So thanks very much. Thanks for joining me. Bye. Bye. Thanks again. Bye.